Hello, and welcome to I Know Dino, the Big Dinosaur Podcast, where we cover news, interviews, and discussions of all things dinosaur.
Hello and welcome to I Know Dino. I'm Garrett.
And I'm Sabrina.
And in today's episode, we have Dinosaur of the Day, ZB. We don't have any news because we're pre-recording this since we're traveling.
But we do have a review for you instead.
Yes, on the movie You Are Umasou. So if you don't want any spoilers, then jump ahead. And we'd like to give a big thank you, as always, to some of our Stegosaurus patrons. This week, we'd like to thank Scotty, Jackson, Megan Dixon, and Eric Keller.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. We really appreciate it, and it really helps us keep this podcast going. If you'd like to join this awesome group of people, then check out our page at patreon.com/iknowdino.
And you can also check out our Teespring store, which is at teespring.com/stores/I-know-dino-store. Or you can just get the link from our show notes, which is probably an easier thing to do. And we've got lots of clothes and a mug and a bag and a onesie if you're interested. So jumping right into our review, You Are Umasou is a pretty enjoyable movie. I heard about it, I think, on the dinosaur subreddit, as I hear about many things. And it was billed on the forum as basically what they wanted The Good Dinosaur to be like. Because it's a very heartfelt kind of family story about dinosaurs. A lot like Land Before Time. It has a lot of things in common with Land Before Time, but it's obviously much more modern. I think it came out in 2010 or thereabouts, and it was made in Japan, so it's all subtitles if you're watching it in English.
And the story is a lot more complicated than The Good Dinosaur. Maybe even a little more complicated than Land Before Time.
It's definitely more complicated than Land Before Time, yeah.
And I personally thought there were more heartfelt, teary moments in the movie compared to The Good Dinosaur.
Yes. There wasn't really a lot going on in The Good Dinosaur, though, so that's not too hard to accomplish. It was I think it was pretty similar to Land Before Time, though. There were just like a few key moments.
Yeah.
Some tense parts.
Not as sad, though.
Yeah. So we're going to go through a little bit of the plot because most people probably aren't going to watch it, or if you have watched it.
You never know.
Yeah. You should watch it if you want to watch it before listening to this. But we're going to explain what happened anyway because it's just kind of a fun story to recount. So basically it starts with a T-Rex egg floating down a river like Moses and a pink dinosaur, which is, I think, supposed to be a Maiasaura, grabs the egg out of the river and is like, "Oh, what are you doing out here alone?" And kind of takes it back to her nest on what they call Egg Mountain. And then a bunch of theropods run through their community and just like cause havoc and smash tons of the eggs.
Feathered theropods.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're supposed to be troodontids, but I'm not really sure. It could be raptors too. And basically it kills off a lot of the generation of that set of eggs. So this Maiasaura that rescued the pink egg from the river now just has 2 eggs left. It has that pink egg and then it has one of its original eggs. And when they hatch, the egg that came from the river turns out to be a T-Rex.
Which is not good in a herd of Maiasaura.
Yeah, because there are tons of them. So the leader tries to immediately kill this baby T-Rex because they're like, it's a danger. You got to get rid of this thing. But the mom kind of prevents that from happening and
she's a good mother lizard.
Yeah, that's true. And she raises it on like red berries, which reminded me of Land Before Time because the berries are very similar to the berries that were in Land Before Time with that little like pterodactyl that like nudges
with the
it.
cherry, yeah.
And it's like,
Nope.
And then a little bit later, they start having more tensions. So the mom briefly tries to kind of abandon the little baby T-Rex, but can't bring herself to do it. And eventually she kind of embraces him and names him Heart. And then his brother is named Light. So there's Heart and Light that are growing up together and, having a good old time. And one of the funny things is Hart starts biting the tails off of various animals and just kind of sucking on them like a pacifier because he likes the taste of meat, but he knows it's wrong to eat animals according to, their little culture. So he's kind of sort of keeping it in check.
He starts off as a very confused little dinosaur.
Yeah, for sure. So then eventually, as is obviously the case, they get separated and they encounter a dinosaur that's not from their herd who basically tells Hart that he's a quote-unquote big jaw. And they have this really creepy nursery rhyme about how the big jaws come and like eat the babies and stuff like that.
Maybe that's what reminded you of Land Before Time, the different names for the
like
dinosaurs.
Sharp Tooth and Big Jaw. Yeah, that's one of the things. But there are lots of things. So that really freaks Hart out. And he's like, oh my God, I don't want to be a big jaw. That's scary. And then he kind of runs off and is looking for food at one point, and he sees a T-Rex gang fighting a Triceratops. And one of the Triceratops horns actually breaks off in one of the T-Rex and I think kills it, like impales him. But then this giant one-eyed T-Rex named Baku comes up and kills the Triceratops super quickly. And then the whole group eats the Triceratops. And there's this scene. So they just keep showing Hart freaking out because he's like, they're eating him. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, they're eating him. So he's like totally panicking. And this T-Rex gang comes over to him and they're like, why are you here? Where's your group? Why are you watching us? Are you hungry? You want to eat some meat? And everything is just freaking him out more and more. Like just them getting close to him is freaking him out.
Well, they're much bigger.
Yeah, they are bigger, especially Baku. Eventually, Hart kind of slinks away and sneaks off. Oh yeah, they also smell him and tell him he smells like an herbivore, so they want to eat him. But he gets away without getting eaten. But one of the dinosaurs named Gonza follows him back to his, little herd or group, because at this point they've been kicked out of the main herd because they won't accept the mother with Light and Hart because
he's a big jaw.
Yeah, his Hart's a big jaw. So when they get back, Gonza sees Hart and Light together and is like, what is going on? Why is there this T-Rex hanging out with this Maiasaura? And he pops out and he goes, I knew it. I knew there was something weird going on here. And they get into this little battle. And then Hart bites off Gonza's tail and eats it.
Yep.
And he
just pretty impressive considering he has never hunted or attacked really before.
Yeah, and he's smaller than Gonza, but I think he kind of surprises him.
Yeah.
Because Gonza's just kind of like being a jerk. Yeah. He's not really trying to do much. And then Hart freaks out on him. So at this point, Hart has got the crazy eye, like the sharp teeth in Land Before Time, and he goes and he's going to eat his brother. So he pulls himself back from the brink and decides, okay, I just got to leave this situation and, not be near my family because otherwise I'm probably going to eat him.
Yeah. So he just takes off without saying anything.
Yeah. And his mom's super sad. They show her a few times, like all mopey in the shadows, looking like Eeyore. It's pretty sad.
That wasn't the part that got me, though.
Is that a little foreshadowing?
Yeah.
So then it cuts to a montage, basically, of Hart training himself because he's like, oh, I got to get bigger and stronger because now I'm going to be a carnivore out on my own now that I know I'm a big jaw. And I got to catch up with all these other big T-Rex because I haven't been eating meat for all this time. I've just been eating vegetables, and that's keeping me small. And he's doing like one-arm push-ups as a T-Rex. They're pretty enjoyable. And then like climbing like a ninja. He's got very martial arts type skills. A lot of jumping and
kicking.
Spinning. Yeah.
Does a good roundhouse kick.
Yeah. Lots of different styles of kicks. After he's done with all this training, he stumbles onto an egg, and very much in the same spirit of what his mom did, he's like poking around at it. He's like, oh, what's this egg doing out here? And then out pops a little baby ankylosaurus, and he's about to eat it. And he goes, you look delicious. And the Japanese word for delicious sounds like Umasou. And so the little baby ankylosaurus, which is very eloquent for a recently hatched animal.
And nimble.
Yeah. Immediately goes, oh, hi, Dad. So you're naming me Umasou.
Yep.
Because that's what babies do when you say a word to them right when they're born.
And then scurries up to the top of his head and says, I'm hungry. Where's lunch?
Yeah, exactly. So this kind of throws off Hart, and he kind of thinks he's going to eat Umasou still for a minute, but eventually decides, like, okay, I guess I'll raise this Ankylosaurus now.
But I don't think he knows exactly that Umasou is an Ankylosaurus, because at one point, Umasou starts walking on 2 legs, and he says, no, don't do that yet. You have to wait until you're bigger.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That was pretty funny. He kind of like falls. He's standing up on Hart's head, and he goes on 2 legs, and he falls off, and then Hart has to catch him. Mm-hmm. That was pretty funny. So Hart continues to kind of wander around with little Umasou for a while, finding plants for Umasou to eat. But eventually, Hart needs to eat some meat. So he kind of sneaks off and goes and kills a Parasaurolophus or something, and then comes back. And in the meantime, Umasou decides, oh, I should find a food that both of us can eat. So he kind of wanders off, and he finds this old big jaw that's got a bunch of shrubs growing on top of him because he's been laying there for so long. And he says that he can't chew solid foods anymore. And he's a lot like the character Rooter in Land Before Time, who ironically is an Ankylosaurus. But he helps little Umasou get all these little berries on its back. And Umasou kind of like burrows underground in order to like pop up underneath this pile that he makes. It's a very cute character. Almost everything Umasou does is super cute. So he carries these berries back to Hart, and he's like, oh, good, I got some food for you. And Hart's like, I can't eat that. And then Umasou starts crying, and it's all sad.
Hart calls him an idiot a whole bunch and yells at him.
An idiot a lot.
But then Umasou's crying, which gets to Hart, and he eventually tries to make it up to him.
Yeah, they kind of start getting along, and then Hart decides that Umasou needs to learn how to fight. So they cut to a like music video sing-along thing where they're saying jump, kick, tail smash, headbutt, tail smash, 2, among other words. And yeah, they're basically fighting and practice fighting. But then it gets super sad because Hart goes, okay, now you're ready. You're ready to be on your own. So you need to leave, and I'm not going to hang out with you anymore. And Umasou's like, what do you mean? I want to still be your friend and hang around and be with you forever.
Still calls him dad and everything.
Yeah. So Hart goes, okay, we're going to race. And if you win the race, then we'll stay together. And if I win the race, then we won't. So Umasou starts running, and Hart's kind of running behind him, and then he starts like slowing down.
Well, he's walking because he's much bigger, and Umasou is like out of breath running
as hard as he can.
So eager and so afraid that Hart's going to catch up.
Yeah. And then Hart eventually just turns around and walks away.
Yeah, and thinks stay safe or something like that. And that's the part that got me, because you've got this really earnest, tiny ankylosaur with a big heart.
And he's just trying to run so he can stay with his dad.
Yeah.
And his dad doesn't want to be with him anymore.
Yeah.
It's very sad. But then Umasou runs into that gang of T-Rex from earlier, including Gonza, and starts getting basically like kicked around like a beanbag or something, like a hacky sack. Mm-hmm. And Hart hears that, so he runs over and he does like his crazy karate style attacking with Umasou in his mouth to protect Umasou. He like saves it from a different T-Rex's mouth and puts him in his mouth to protect him. And so he fights all these guys and wins, and then Baku shows up and basically banishes him. So now Umasou and Hart have to leave. They can't go to the forest because that's where his mom is. They can't stay in the plains because the T-Rex have banished him from there. So they go to the beach. And actually they accidentally like fall into the ocean.
Well, before they get to the beach, Hart spits out Umasou, and then Umasou talks about how warm it was to be in Hart's stomach. And Hart says, no, you were just in my mouth.
Yeah, that's true. Umasou is really naive in a very cute way. Mm-hmm. So once they fall in the ocean, they get saved by an elasmosaur super randomly. And they're just...
a female one.
Yeah, I guess. And they're just kind of hanging out on a rock for a while. And the elasmosaur is sitting on the rock like a bird with its neck sticking up, like 50 feet in the air. It's very, very strange. And the elasmosaur kind of recounts all these things that have been going on because they jump ahead in time and then they kind of do this back in time situation. And he describes how, oh, I didn't realize you were a carnivore until that one time we got attacked by this mosasaur looking thing and you like ripped it apart and then ate it.
Yeah. Yeah, and the elasmosaur is a she.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's not really clear because some of the descriptions of the movie, they talk about genders and things, but through a lot of the movie, they don't really use pronouns. So it's kind of hard to tell. But yeah, I think the elasmosaur was a female. The elasmosaur actually convinces Hart that he needs to go back to his mom. Maybe because the elasmosaur is a female and knows what it's like to miss your children.
Well, she also heard news that Egg Mountain was in trouble.
Oh yeah, from like the pterosaurs or something, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, Umasou and Hart start heading back towards the original family. And out pops Gonza with his missing tail and says, "What are you doing here? You're supposed to be banished." To which Hart says, "Get out of my way." And Gonza says, "I'm going to kill you if you try to pass me." And then Hart just kills Gonza. So Gonza gets a pretty bad rap in this movie.
Well, there's also a whole thing where Gonza sees Umasou and realizes Umasou thinks that Hart is his dad. So Gonza tells Umasou, like, no, that's not your dad. And Umasou comes back with him like, well, maybe we're not exactly the same, but he's still my dad.
And then Gonza's like, oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's really weird. So Gonza's like half wet blanket and half just like getting constantly attacked by Hart.
Yeah.
I feel a little bad for Gonza. But anyway, Hart ends up running through this forest fire because it turns out Egg Mountain is actually a volcano with this huge egg-shaped rock in it. It's very strange, like in the middle of the caldera. It's super weird. But he eventually finds his herd, his original herd, and he threatens that he's going to eat all of them in order to scare them into leaving the area so they don't get killed by all the lava. And then he goes off to find his mom because his mom is like hiding in the mountains since she never rejoined the herd. And he meets all his new half siblings, I guess.
Yeah, she's had a new
litter.
Nest. Yeah.
Yeah. So the whole crew now, Light, Hart, the mom, the kids, and Umasou all start heading out in order to catch back up with the herd, but they get blocked off by Baku, the giant T-Rex with one eye because he's so ferocious. Dun. Oh, we didn't mention, apparently Baku defeated a group of what they call long necks who came up from the south. And one of the descriptions I read was saying that was probably supposed to be Giganotosaurus, like a group of those that came up. Mm-hmm. I don't know why that would be a long neck. They look really strange in the movie. I
guess they have long-ish necks.
Not really.
Then they have claws and teeth and spikes on their backs.
Yeah, I thought maybe it was supposed to be like a Spinosaurus, but they didn't really look like a Spinosaurus. So anyway, these random larger than T-Rex theropods come up and start trying to attack, and Baku kills all of them by himself, but loses an eye in the process. And that's how he becomes like ruler of all of the plains.
Plus he's huge.
Yeah, he is also huge.
Bigger than all of them.
Yeah. Oh, and Baku, talking to the really old Big Jaw, references the fact that he lost an egg as a child, and it turns out that Baku and Hart have a super similar kind of pattern and color to them.
Was it a Big Jaw, or was that the one who's like Rooter?
Yeah, that's a Big Jaw. That's an old Big Jaw.
Oh, okay. I guess he was always covered in produce, so I didn't see.
Covered in produce.
Well, we said that they used to bring him food and he's surrounded by all this fruit.
Yeah, that's true. So basically, there's a huge battle. You've got Baku, the giant T-Rex, just trying to chomp on little old Hart the whole time. And then Hart's doing all this crazy kung fu. And then they get into this weird headbutt battle where they just keep headbutting each other like they're pachycephalosaurs. And basically, Hart is kind of losing that battle. So he jumps up and he tries to bite Baku on the neck, but then Baku body slams him. And even though earlier he could like get landed on by a titanosaur and be fine, getting landed on by Baku, almost kills him.
That's why Baku was the ruler.
I guess so. So, yeah, the whole family rushes over and they kind of like say to Baku, oh, let him live. We love him, blah, blah, blah. And
blah, blah, blah. It's a touching moment.
It was okay. The whole time you didn't know if he was dead or not. And then Baku kind of implies that he might be Hart's dad. And he says like, oh, take care or something, and then wanders off, I guess.
Well, there's a whole part where Hart's Maiasaura mother is talking to Baku. And Baku talks about how Hart is so small for his kind because he wasn't eating as a child, since he was forced to eat plants instead of meat. And then he asks the mother, what would you do if he was starving? And she says, I would let him eat me. And he thinks that's silly. But yeah, they kind of have this moment where Baku says, okay, I'll let you all go this time or something.
Yeah. So then they get the whole crew back to the herbivore herd, likely Maiasauras, and Hart leaves with Umasou. It looked like Baku died in the credits, but then later on he's talking to that old big jaw that's all covered in foliage.
Very unclear at the end what happened.
I thought they showed a meteor flying at Earth because they do this shot sort of from space and they show this like big object coming. But another thing it might have been was that egg-shaped rock in the volcano flying off in space, which seems more likely since apparently there was a whole TV series. So I don't think it was like the very last hurrah of the Cretaceous, even though you've got most of the right dinosaurs there for it.
Yeah. So overall, it's a very complicated story if you think about the way these carnivores and herbivores are interacting, but also very touching and heartfelt and pretty cute.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. It definitely has a lot of very sentimental moments, and it has at least 3, maybe 4 random sing-along parts in it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just kind of a kids' movie thing, because I know you were saying that the later Land Before Time movies are all sing-alongs too. Maybe that's what they're going for.
Could be.
It seemed pretty out of place to me, but I don't know. I guess it works.
It's a very cartoony kind of animation, so at times the characters, their sizes seem to change.
Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Like you'll see Umasou can sometimes like fit inside Hart's mouth, but then other times he's sitting on top of his head and he's like bigger than his head. And you see the same kind of thing with Hart too. Sometimes he can run underneath Baku, and other times it's like he's almost as big as him.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what happens whenever these things are drawn, I think. Umasou is really cute, though. It made me want to get, like, an Umasou plushie or something, yeah.
You were looking at the T-shirts.
Yeah, they got some cool T-shirts, too. They're very cool-looking characters. I like them.
Yeah. I like that this animated film is also based on a picture book series.
Yeah. And apparently, like I mentioned, they had a TV series, which on Wikipedia it says there are 20 episodes, and they were basically all released in 1 month, and the movie came out right in the middle of all the TV shows, which seems like a really strange schedule coming from how American TV shows usually go. Like usually you'd have a TV show run for a couple years on and off, and then there'd be a movie that's unrelated to it after all of that or something.
Not if you're going the Marvel route.
I guess. But even they don't release an episode every day.
Yeah. But I think that's typical with Japanese TV. I remember hearing that about when Sailor Moon was coming out again.
It's interesting. It's a more bingey way to release TV shows.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
You don't have time to forget that it's still a thing because it's just on every day. After watching this, I'm pretty convinced that if Sabrina had seen this as a kid instead of Land Before Time, that Ankylosaurus would be her favorite dinosaur.
Probably.
Because it plays the Brontosaurus role in this movie.
It's pretty darn cute.
It really is.
Can do a lot.
I think it's actually cuter than Littlefoot.
Well, Littlefoot was really cute in the first scene when he hatches out of the egg.
Yeah.
But Umasou retains his cuteness throughout the movie.
Yeah, Littlefoot gets a little whiny now and then. Umasou is just cute the whole time.
Littlefoot's allowed to get whiny.
Because he's Littlefoot.
He's a rough life. There's no sharp tooth looking out for him.
I guess that's true. Yeah, he just has Sarah making fun of him.
Yep.
So overall, I think it's pretty good. It's definitely worth watching. We couldn't find a US version of the DVD, so we had to watch it online, but it's pretty easy to find.
Yeah, and I kind of liked hearing it in Japanese.
Yeah, I don't even think they have a version that's dubbed. And there's, I believe, a sequel titled You Are So Yummy, Happy to Be With You, which is a pretty great title for a movie. I think that's just a very literal translation of the Japanese.
Yeah. Sounds good, though.
Yeah. And then I think there might be another sequel. I'm not really sure if these are close enough to be considered sequels, but I think they're all based on the book called Hello Tyranno that's supposed to come out next year.
Oh, we'll have to keep an eye out for that.
Yeah. I don't think I had that on my list of recent dinosaur movies.
So I think it's safe to say we would both recommend that movie if you're looking for something cute and mostly lighthearted.
Yeah.
Pretty short, too. It's only about an hour and a half.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely good. And it's kid-friendly, obviously. It's a little bit intense at moments, but, you know.
I think that's fine. I think it's good to have that in kids' movies.
I would say probably not a really young kid, but, you know, maybe 7 or 8 or older probably be good. Or do you think younger could handle it?
I think younger could handle it. The way it's drawn, it's very inviting.
Yeah, but some of them, like the Triceratops, when it like stabs the T-Rex and things like that, some of the cartoony violence is a little...
Yeah, I could see that. Just depends.
Yeah, that's true. And as a quick reminder, if you would like to get a I Know Dino themed t-shirt or mug or sweatshirt or onesie.
Especially the onesie.
Yes. And we have the t-shirts for toddlers and kids as well as adults. And there's women's versions and men's versions. It's all on our Teespring store, and you can get the link from our show notes. And I think they all look pretty great because I like our logo a lot.
Yes. We're also planning on expanding our designs, so stay tuned for that. I've got one in mind. We'll see how it turns out. It's inspired by a flamingo scene in Planet Earth 2.
Yeah, which is a super good documentary. And it has a lot of dinosaurs in it, if you include birds. I would say every single, because they do it by environment, and it was always funny to me because no matter which environment they went to, there were a bunch of birds that they showed. It's like half of that show is birds. It seems like there's just so many cool birds all over the place. There's going to be a birding podcast real soon, Sabrina.
I can tell. And now on to our dinosaur of the day, Zebi, which was a request from Portuguese Eagle via YouTube, so thanks.
You trying to shut down my birding podcast? Is that what this is?
We talk about non-avian dinosaurs here.
Not only non-avian. We throw in avian dinosaurs once in a while.
Occasionally. Anyway, Zebi was a Turiasaurian sauropod that lived in the Late Jurassic in what is now Portugal, and it was found in the Lourinhã Formation. The fossils were first found in 1996 and was excavated in 1996, 2000, and 2002, and it was described and named in 2014 by Octávio Mateus, Philip D. Mannion, and Paul Upchurch. It was named after Georges Zybszewski, a Russian-French paleontologist who studied paleontology and geology in Portugal. There's only one species, it's Zebi atlanticus, and the species name refers to the quote, scenic bay over the Atlantic Ocean, end quote, where the specimen was found. It's known from the holotype, which was a partial skeleton with a complete tooth with a root, part of a cervical neural arch, anterior chevron, and a nearly complete right pectoral girdle and forelimb. Only one tooth was found, but it was a complete tooth crown and root. And sauropod teeth that were shed while the sauropod was alive usually only have the crown, because the root was reabsorbed. That's what you usually find. Because this tooth had the crown and the root, though, the tooth probably was separated from the skull after the specimen died. The tooth had derived characteristics only seen in basal sauropods or eusauropods. It had this wrinkled enamel covering most of the crown, a spatulate crown shape, labial grooves, and a V-shaped wear. It was an eusauropod dinosaur, which is a derived clade of sauropods. It's unclear how big Zebi was, because there's not enough fossils to know. Zebi, though, is the fourth sauropod named from the Late Jurassic in Portugal.
Pretty good for such a small country.
Yeah. It's closely related to Turiasaurus riodevensis, a sauropod that lived at the same time but in Spain, and that one is possibly the largest sauropod that lived in Europe. They had similar teeth and forelimbs. A preliminary study in 2009 found similarities with Turiasaurians and tentatively referred Zb to Turiasaurus riodevensis. Because Zb and Turiasaurus lived at the same time, it's possible that they could have been the same genus or species, but more detailed comparisons show enough differences to make them separate genera, according to the authors and scientists who formally named Zb. It's also hard to compare the two since it's only based on their teeth and forelimb elements, so there may be a lot more differences between the two, we just don't know about it yet. Other dinosaurs that lived in the same time and place include the sauropods Lourinhãosaurus and Lusotitan, the Stegosaurus stegosaurus and Miragaia, and theropods Torvosaurus, Allosaurus, Ceratosaurus, and Lourinhãosaurus. You can see a cast of Zb, the pectoral girdle and forelimb only, at the Wills Memorial Building in Bristol in the UK, and the Saurier Museum Athol in Switzerland.
And our fun fact of the day is that the Egg Mountain in Umasou is probably based on the real-life Egg Mountain, which is in the Two Medicine Formation near Bynum, Montana.
Purely speculation on our part, but it is what made us think, that must be a Maiasaura.
Yeah.
In the beginning.
There are a lot of things in common. For instance, the area is known for Maiasaura, known as the good mother lizard, and in that film, the likely Maiasaura is clearly being a good mother.
Yes.
There are multiple, possibly communal nests at Egg Mountain in the Two Medicine Formation, just like there were in the film. There's also the first evidence of likely dinosaur parental care coming from Egg Mountain, and there are Troodon remains that have also been found at Egg Mountain, and the things in the beginning of Umasou looked a lot like Troodons running through the Maiasaura nests.
So it all adds up.
It really does. Plus, they have that weird Egg Mountain situation that didn't make a lot of sense. Seems like they were trying to make a pun. And you guys probably remember, too, Sabrina and I did our dig very close by to Egg Mountain. We were just, I don't know, probably less than a mile away from there. We drove right by it when we were going into the Two Medicine Formation. And Sabrina found some egg fragments at the site we were digging at, which was a known dinosaur nest.
Yep.
So we are Umasou.
No, we're not delicious.
Speak for yourself.
Ooh. And on that note, that wraps up this episode of I Know Dino. Thanks for listening, and if you would like to join our growing community, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/iknowdino. Thanks again, and until next time.
Thank you for listening to I Know Dino. If you have any questions or comments about dinosaurs, we'd like to hear from you at plesiosaur@iknowdino.com. And for more information on dinosaurs, go to iknowdino.com or follow us on Google, Facebook, Tumblr, or Twitter at I Know Dino.